Ever since Operation Spiderweb almost a year ago, Russia lives in fear of their highest value military assets being taken down by relatively cheap drones. They lost a third of their strategic bomber fleet a year ago, and now they're rightfully paranoid about losing their nuclear submarine force. These were satellite images taken this week. This is the Far East, this is Kamchatka and Vladivostok. All of their submarines are covered in these nettings to try and protect them if Ukraine successfully got a drone boat out there or, even like a commercial boat out there, and then they air-launched some drones to punch some holes in these very vulnerable, very valuable submarines. Now, this is not a problem that is only going to affect Russia. Every advanced military in the world that has aircraft carriers or submarines or battleships that are in dry dock or just in harbor resupplying, they're going to be vulnerable forever, going forward into the future, because these first-person view drones, or even the next step is going to be autonomous AI drones carrying out missions. But these advanced military assets are just extremely vulnerable, and Russia knows it, Russia feels it. And if Ukraine wants to prioritize this and allocate some resources, they could probably get some drones out there and punch some holes in these very valuable submarines. Putin today is the weakest he has ever been. Now, he has the most control over the Russian population and obviously the Russian state, so that's a contradiction. But he can only maintain this level of power and control over the Russian state in a time of war through the use of fear. There is this speculation of a mass mobilization coming up after the September 21st Russian State Duma elections, and the intelligence chatter is that there's going to be some kind of provocation. Putin is going to attempt to attack somewhere in the Baltics or maybe Poland, some kind of provocation. And the theory is that Putin is trying to provoke a reaction. He wants NATO to respond. He wants a NATO plane to bomb some Russian people somewhere to give him the justification to go to the Russian people and say, we've been attacked. We need to mobilize 500,000 men and send them to Ukraine to get this war done. NATO will then be next. We'll deal with them in the future. But the primary concern is achieving the goals of the special military operation when really 5 years going into this. Does anyone even remember what the original justifications were that Putin gave? Because at this point, it's just a land grab. Putin is telling the Trump administration, we're not going to even talk about a ceasefire until we control the rest of Donetsk. We want Ukraine to just surrender their fortress-built cities in the Donbass region. This is one oblast that Russia really has been trying to conquer for 15 years. And 5 years into a full-scale war, they've still failed to take these cities such as Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. This war is only going to end one way, and it's going to end when either Putin dies or Putin is removed from power. That day will happen at some point. I don't think Putin is going to live another 20 years and then die peacefully in his bed surrounded by his loved ones. He has chosen a very violent path. He's the greatest mass murderer of the 21st century, and people who commit to that path usually doesn't end well for them. So I don't think it's going to be a palace coup, because I think Putin's inner circle, they're all craven and cowards, and they live in fear of being purged by the FSB. But nobody got to the position they were in unless they were willing to serve Putin. So the wealthiest men in Russia only have their wealth and their power and positions because Putin gave it to them or allows them to continue to exist. So the next group that Putin lives in fear in is the people who are more extreme than him. They're farther to the right. These are the people saying we need to nuke Ukraine now and get this done. Putin is too weak. Putin won't even fire General Gerasimov, who has failed to execute this war over 5 years. So I do think Putin has legitimate concerns from people farther to the right of him who want to see more escalation, more intensity. Mobilization to these people should have occurred years ago in order to get this war done. There could be some kind of faction. This was comparable to Prigozhin's rebellion. Somebody more extreme, more violent, more deadly, replacing Putin to properly execute this war. And then there's popular uprising. yes, this is possible, but I just don't think there are enough young people in Russia who believe it's even possible. You need a critical mass. These are comparable to the Arab Spring 2012, brought down Gaddafi, brought down all of these Middle Eastern dictators who had been in power for decades. Putin does live in fear of that, but he has just done everything possible to build this dystopian security state in which anyone who has any subversive thoughts, rebellious thoughts, they're found immediately and pushed into the military to die, or they go to jail, or they're fined, or they're silenced somehow. Beyond that, it's just the passage of time. I imagine executing a war and not doing it well is stressful on the body, and Putin doesn't look good. When I see these pictures and videos, he's almost in his mid-70s now, but cancer could get him, heart attack could get him, stroke could get him. Beyond that, there's always the concern that somebody in his security detail or a random assassination. But no, this war is never going to end until Putin is dead or removed from power. This was an incredible operation conducted by Ukraine this week, in which I'm pretty confident these are drone carrier boats. So Ukraine at the moment has developed the technology to sail drone boats out into the Black Sea and potentially someday the Sea of Azov. And these drone boats are launching then radio-controlled drones. So this S-400 system, this was south of Novorossiysk. This is near Putin's palace on the Black Sea. A drone boat went out there, launched a drone, and then successfully destroyed an S-400 system. These smaller air-launched drones are just too small, I think, for Russian radar systems to pick up, let alone for an S-400 to attempt to shoot down. So this is Russia's premier air defense system being annihilated by some pretty incredible technology that Ukraine is currently pioneering. So Magyar's Birds made the announcement, they released the video, but in addition to this, they also destroyed a Panzer system, a Tor system, a Costa radar, and another radar system. But this has been what's been happening for years now. On my YouTube channel, I've been showing the clips and reporting. Ukraine always produces the receipts, and Russia has been losing 1 or 2 air defense systems every day. Now, this is a staggering number if you try and think about how many air defense systems does Russia possibly have. And unfortunately, Russia's defense industry was cranking out about 20 air defense systems a month during the war because they always wanted a surplus. They wanted to export for profit to partners around the world, but they can't do that anymore because they're running out themselves. Ukraine has been destroying air defense systems belonging to the Russians faster than they can produce them, and the trend is not looking good because Russia has vast territory and they just simply can't protect everything. I think it would be a psychological blow to successfully land a drone in Putin's living room at his palace in the Black Sea, but objectively, for the war effort, that doesn't do anything. I think it would be a morale boost, maybe, for Ukrainian forces to see that happen, but do I really think that Ukraine's military command is prioritizing limited military assets to do something purely symbolic? I don't. I think there are better targets for Ukraine to be going after, but they can go after, air defense systems or other valid military targets in the area. And if this causes Putin to lose some sleep or spend resources to protect his luxury palaces, then that benefits Ukraine.